And here in the United States, speaking of which, there's not just the pressure of weird trolls online, but you have agencies with the US government that are used and weaponized sometimes for people who speak out. Like, I don't know if you heard about it, but late last week, there was an FBI raid on the Black Socialist Movement in Florida.
Yes, I was actually just going to mention that.
Yeah. Hey, Reef, if you could throw up that piece right there, the link to it. What was really interesting was they used flash grenades on unarmed people, flash grenades as they entered their house. I mean, think about the children and pets in these people's homes. These are unarmed, people just wanting, again, like you had said earlier, they're not wanting war, they're wanting peace, and they're wanting, colonialism to stop. And they're talking about the colonialism of Africa, and they are talking about the way, Palestinians are being, occupied by Israel, and the horrific crimes that are happening to Palestinians. And just for that, they, without a warrant, without a search warrant, anything, they went in. So are you seeing any backlash in Europe like that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't know to what extent the laws that are on the books right now have actually been used. I think only a few examples, but they have just like straight up outlawed any type of what they regard as pro-Russian speech. Like, it is actually a crime. You can go to prison for several years for this. And that's why I've kind of been watching my back, because I'm like, anything that is pro-Russian could theoretically land me in prison. And for example, the Czech Ministry of Justice has put out guidelines saying that, yeah, they can and will arrest people for this. And they've already arrested a few people. Now, I think that these people that they arrested were like straight up like, yeah, we love Putin, like kill all the Ukrainians, we fucking hate, all this, whatever. Like these people are kind of off the walls, I think, but how far can it go? I mean, we've seen that it can go pretty far. I mean, they've already completely cut the cord on RT, for example, all over the European Union,
right?
Which is where, one of my columns is hosted, so people can't see what I write. And what I write is, like, in my opinion, not really that inflammatory at all. I think it's like,
no,
just like, hey, this is what's happening here.
It's just sort of objective and factual. But if you've noticed, the Western media particularly has really moved to this opinion journalism. So it's not really journalism. And, and I'm not a journalist, I'm just a writer. I've written op-eds, and it's very different than what you do. As investigative journalism is, you're trained to do that, you're educated to do that, and it's a very highly skilled profession. And unfortunately, in the West, we have a lot of people that are doing it more for other reasons, and just basically, they call them stenographers, but it's not hyperbole, that they are stenographers for the State Department. They're like literally just writing down talking points, and you'll find the same article with the same points on every single outlet, and it's annoying. So RT provided this great kind of balance, because also they covered more international issues that aren't being covered, like in other places. Because US media is so looking at their own navel all the time that you don't get to see what's happening in the world, really from their perspective. And here it's censored, but I think in Great Britain, it's banned. They pulled their license, right?
Yeah.
I
think that's like just I think that most people are just so naive about how media works, like in reality, that they see, CNN and the New York Times, Washington Post is somehow independent media outlets, and it's shunned upon if you work for a so-called state media outlet. But like in reality, the same people who control these media outlets are the same people that control the U.S. government. So it's really not very much different than just being U.S. state media, is it?
Right.
Personally, in my own career, I have pretty much exclusively worked for foreign state media, and I've done that like just as a principal position, because I'm never going to work for corporate media, because I just detest them. I don't like what they do, and I got to tell you that in my time of doing that, I've worked at Telesur, I've worked for RT, I've worked like I said at Xinhua, and I've written columns for Global Times, China Daily, CGTN, and stuff like that. And they're fact checking, especially, by the way, Xinhua News Agency, in my opinion, is like the best news agency in the world in terms of facts. I mean, like, they do not print mistakes because they do not make mistakes. And I've been in so many meetings talking about this and why we have such a high quality standard there, and like the internal mechanisms for finding mistakes is really incredible. And I think that if you're reading them, you can 100% trust them. But there's still that stigma of it being state-run media. But like, I think that there's a growing number of young people like myself that are working for foreign state media that tells a different narrative. And if the US really has such a problem with that, they need to have media that tells a different objective side of that story. If there existed an outlet in the United States that told, a global perspective on events, I would gladly work there.
Right.
But I'm not going to work at any of the existing corporate media because what they do, in my opinion, is terrible. At the same time, like, I welcome mostly, like, with very few, like, with some exceptions, unless it's like some like outright Nazi outlet, I will talk to, pretty much any media outlet that gives me a voice. And that's why, I have all the outlets that I have that talk to me. I've even been quoted, for example, I think a couple months ago on BBC. Like, I detest the BBC, the British government, what they stand for, but I would gladly like give them, quote about China's Belt and Road Initiative if they come and ask me. Like, it's not a big deal. But yeah, I mean, I think that the US, there really just aren't any alternative outlets. And I think, it's really sad that there's so many young journalism students that don't have like anything that they're trained to do. Like, there's no outlet for them for anything they're trained to do. It's all nepotism and legacy media and shit like this.
Right. And a lot of it is inaccurate. And, I don't know if you know anything about my story, but there were article after article from AP, Washington Post, New York Times.
I followed your
there's
story.
so many. Yeah. Okay. Well, then, half the stuff they said about me wasn't even true. Like, I mean, to the point of like where I was from. I mean, like it was really stunning, like the inaccuracies and the lies, and they just have no problem with making up shit if they don't have the information. Like, they don't care. They just
like, they don't even just ask you. Right.
No, right. Half the
I mean,
time.
that's like the most. That's the most like common thing. Like, for example, at Xinhua, we get destroyed by our editors for like fucking up the basic biographical details of people. Like, you mess up somebody, like, you'll lose your job if you spell somebody's name wrong. If you get where they're from wrong, if it's out there, if you don't even ask them, like, you can get like deductions in their internal points and stuff like this. And then, like, it's true that in Western media, like, they just reprint falsehoods without even just asking somebody the basic facts. It's really terrible. I mean,
well, and they do it with a with something in mind. They want to hurt, they want to harm, they want to bury a story, suppress it, or they want to vilify someone. And you see a lot of examples of this, how they keep talking about how the Russian president was dying for a long time. Now they say he's too healthy, that kind of shit. I mean, it's just, the CIA director said he was too healthy. I don't even know what that means, except it kind of sounds,